In today's lesson, we are returning for our third and final distance on the crossed ropes. We're going to talk about how to use these as a tool to position yourself correctly in the ring, how to use this to learn how to pressure, and learn how to be cagey and not get trapped in corners. If you stick around, we give you a bunch of drills that you can implement in your own training, and hopefully you'll learn something that'll give you success when you fight. Co-starring in today's video and helping with demos is my boxer, Jack.
Hey guys.
Once you've set up your crossed ropes, as we talked about in our middle distance video, you are ready to begin. Our very first drill for working on the outside is for you to shadow box using the whole ring as if the crossed ropes don't exist. So we've talked about this in previous videos where we talk about how you can move around the ring in various patterns. There's running the ropes, there's the 4-leaf clover, there's where you or your opponent are playing the role of the ring general. I want you to think about all of these things as you traverse this space, and I want you to try to ignore the ropes. When it's a coincidence that you interact with the rope, change levels and keep moving. But for now, I want you to really make an effort to not think about the ring as 4 small rings, but to think about it as one large ring. Something that I like to do to help accommodate this is to close my eyes as I shadow box moving around the ring. Not for the entire round, but for little periods of time. And then I can kind of feel the rope. They're not electrical wires, it's just a hand wrap. When you get to that rope, you can drop step through, or you can interact with it in any way that you'd like, but try not to pre-anticipate where the rope is. Move how you would usually move. Moving how you would usually move brings us to our next point. As you're shadow boxing around the ring, make sure not to just orbit the center of the ring. If you're just orbiting facing the center of the ring, you're acting as if your opponent is the ring general. You want to be the ring general. You want to control the center of the ring. You want to recognize that the center of a boxing ring is contentious, highly fought for, sought after space, and that's why all of these ropes intersect here. It's a feature, not a bug. I want you busy. I want you interacting with these ropes if you're going to win control of the center of the ring, because a good opponent isn't going to give up that space easily. Now that you've familiarized yourself with the crossed ropes and shadow boxing around the whole ring, we can move on to our second drill. Our second drill now has us interacting with the ropes and leveraging them to either exit or to counter and attack our opponent. Why do you change levels when you fight? It's not a trick question. You change levels because somebody's swinging at your head. And when you change levels, if you're traveling, you're gonna end up elbow side. And if you're elbow side, you're the boss. We talk about this a lot. You can either attack from a safe and dominant position, or you can exit and better your macro position in the ring. In this drill, I want you to really focus as you interact with the ropes, as you change level, as you imagine an opponent swinging at you and you making them miss, you traveling through that shot, to really leverage that moment into an attack or an exit, making sure that you're the one in charge. I've noticed a huge influx in the YouTube boxing community of AI videos and AI channels. We're not going to give you any of that crap. It's always us. First and foremost, our experience, our hard work, our blood, sweat, and tears at the forefront. So give us a like for being real and stick around as more real things are going to come your way. If you choose to go on the attack, you are shifting to start pressuring your opponent. If you choose to exit, you are shifting gears to being cagey, to being defensive, to being elusive, and to trying to find a better macro position in the ring. What we're going to try to do now is we're going to try to section off these 4 quadrants in the ring, and they're each going to have their own allotted strategy that goes along with them that follows this pattern. In our red and our blue corners, you're going to be attacking. When you enter those corners, when you change levels to step into that space, I want you pressuring, I want you stalking. In our neutral corners, you're going to be exiting and you're going to be cagey. Imagine that your opponent is attacking, imagine they're stalking, and you're trying to shake them. You're trying to be exchange avoidant. Getting into more detail here, our neutral corners and their associated little squares carved off by our crossed ropes here are for being cagey. Now, cagey doesn't just mean being defensively slick. It truly means being exchange avoidant. You want to avoid being exposed to any sort of middle distance or inside fighting or exchanges in the first place. You want to be the one dictating when you're in an engagement and when you're free. So you're going to act as if your opponent is pressuring you, is stalking you, and you're going to apply those strategies of being on the back foot, of trying to shake somebody and lose them in the corner that you would apply in a spar or in a fight. In the neutral corners, you're going to be employing tactics that would exit from the corner and reestablish control of the center of the ring. These include, but are not limited to, tying up and spinning your opponent, defending through attacks, feinting and creating ambiguity about when you're attacking and where you're going, being greedy with your space, using lane theory to bait shots, not breaking your posture or your stance, and recognizing that punches are opportunities to use to better your position, not just big scary attacks to be avoided. When we change levels and enter into our red and our blue corners, we are going on the attack. We are the ones pressuring our opponent, and we want to steer them into the corner. We want to stalk them carefully and tenaciously, and we want to employ all of our tactics that we would use to put the pressure on them, to make them make mistakes, to deny them ground at their backs. These tactics include, but are not limited to, cutting off the ring, not falling in on our opponent. Remember what Roy Jones Jr. says, your back foot's the gas, your front foot's the brake. Using the ground at your back, feinting so they don't know when you're engaging and you're forcing them to use the ground at their back. Working the body, it's a lot harder to get under shots to your body. And recognizing that your punches are also opportunities for your opponent to exit and better their position. So you want to make sure that you are withholdent on big, obvious punches that create big, obvious opportunities for your opponent to exit off the ropes and outmaneuver you. Using the ground at your back, it's important to remember that when you have somebody up against the ropes, they have the additional psychological burden of recognizing and specifically defending every shot that you throw. You only need to recognize that they're attacking and step away and then re-engage. Be greedy with that space. When you're changing levels and making these transitions as you travel between these 4 different squares inside of our ring space, you really want to make it clear what you're doing. As you step into an attacking square, you want to leverage that level change into the attack. Whether it's a delay, a Duran, a Dempsey, a drag shot, some sort of combination punching, pull the trigger quickly and with authority. And do the same thing when you're stepping into one of our cagey squares. When you step into one of these squares, get light on your front foot, start jabbing, start using your feints, start bouncing, and really make sure that this person isn't ready to keep up with you. The sooner that you shift into these gears, the sooner that you can outmaneuver and outposition and off-balance your opponent. A quick shift in tactics like this can be the turning point in a fight that might not be going your way. It's really important to remember, especially when you're in our cagey corners here, where you're the one being pressured, boxing is not about never being in a bad position. It's not about never making a mistake. What it's about is about understanding the sweet science well enough that if you're in a bad position or you make a mistake, you have confidence in your skills to deal with it and come out the other side. I don't think you should train to never be on the ropes. I think that you should train to know what your options are and how to deal with a worst case scenario when one like that comes up. It's important to remember when you're fighting that if you give 100% effort, you're in charge of 50% of how that fight goes. And you need to be able to roll with the punches and roll with the tactics and strategies that your opponent brings to the table. As I said before, it's not about never making mistakes. It's about recognizing how to behave when things aren't going your way. That's what allows you to get back on track and to succeed. A drill like this is perfect for this because it forces you to readily and quickly change gears. I'm the one on the back foot. I'm the one on the front foot. I'm the one pressuring. I'm the one being pressured. You learn how to keep a guy on the ropes, and then you flip that and you learn how to not be kept on the ropes. This is our final video in our trilogy about using the cross ropes to practice your tactics and strategies on the inside, the middle distance, and the outside. A great way that you could structure training would be to start on the outside, do a round or two, move into the middle distance, do a round or two, move onto the inside, do a round or two, and maybe freestyle for a round or two at the end. And that way you get a nice, well-rounded 6 to 8 rounds of shadow boxing with this piece of equipment. I know that this piece of equipment really helps me as a lattice work, as a structure, as a skeleton to aid my imagination. It allows me to lower that threshold of what I need to juggle in my head and depend on something outside of myself to structure my behavior and pay attention to my tactics and strategies. Hopefully you can employ a similar strategy to aid your training and apply everything you know, and it'll help you come out the other side and succeed when you fight.